Welcome to Mornings with Matt, personal and professional development training that connects the art of acting with critical life skills and self-mastery. Presented by the Deering Acting Studio.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Mornings with Matt. This morning, we are going to get right to it because the topic we are going to be discussing is extremely important. It is timely and it is sensitive, and so we are going to navigate that together. We've got an amazing guest on the show, a good friend of ours, longtime student, Miss Lauren Slack. Look at you. You grew up at the studio. My goodness. Like you were somebody that you're one of our kids, you know what I mean? And now look at you. You're like a full-grown adult and everything.
Yeah, I started in the kids classes and I just loved it.
Were you in the kids? Like you were in the kids program? I forgot all about that. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was.
Wow.
I was like 2 studios ago.
Oh, wow.
That is insane.
So you've gotten to see our growth and development and transformation too, which has been an interesting journey. So let's dive right in here. So talk about your connection with the studio and what coming here did for you at the time, like what that was all about.
Yeah, so I was there for, I think I did the math, and it was like 8 years, which is huge. And I did, like you said, I really did grow up there. And I definitely came out of my shell a lot. Like, I don't know that anyone would call me shy, but when you meet me, like, probably don't know how to talk to you like a normal person, especially as a kid. So I really did grow up there, and doing improv and film really helped me come out of my shell. Improv was probably one of the hardest things that I ever did. I just was so insanely nervous every time. And I really think that helped me so much just grow. And in high school too, I mean, I could talk to people by the end of it that was something I never would have been able to do.
That's amazing. Yeah, and you know what's crazy is, for me anyway, I don't know about you guys, but I'm still insanely nervous every time I improvise. Mm-hmm. Like that never goes away.
Yeah.
You guys the same?
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
Like Brian and I did this show that we put up live on YouTube, and we did it after a class.
Yeah.
We had just taught, and we're like, oh, this will be fun. Let's just do a 10-minute whatever. I was so nervous, like crazy
nervous. And we had just like told them, we're gonna, all right, guys, we're gonna put up a live show right after this, so come check it out. And then as soon as we were like shut it off, I was like, okay, well, this is it. Let's go. Let's do this thing. Like we literally had no idea what it was even gonna look like. We just knew, okay, us in the dark, let's go.
But I think that's one of the important things about improvisation, and the exciting things is this idea of you put yourself into something that is so uncomfortable. Like crazy uncomfortable for yourself. You do it on purpose. You push yourself there. You get through it, and then you're like, oh, I survived. Mm-hmm. And then you do it again. You do it again. You do it again. You get better, and you realize, oh, I'm still scared. There's more to learn. Oh, I'm still scared. But then, like Lauren said, you learn how to face the other mountains in your life, the things that are scaring you, and you realize, okay, well, if I can talk on stage and I don't know what to say, I can talk to somebody at school.
Oh, yeah. And you can definitely get an A on your communications class, right?
Yes, that was one thing I noticed, is everyone was always like, your speeches were so good. And I'm like, thank you so much. I practiced it at like 2 in the morning. Thank you.
Now, during your acceptance speech, did you make sure to thank the studio? Because that's important.
Yes.
Good.
I actually did have to write a like speech. It was like an event speech, and that was part of it. I made a speech about like giving a speech at my best friend's wedding, and as like a maid of honor. And I did actually say like, thank you to the studio for you look like a fool up here. So that was part of my speech, actually.
Awesome. Wow. That's amazing. Next time, just put Deering Acting in front of it. That way, you know, we get a little bit of,
I believe I did.
We get a little SEO juice coming our way. You know what I mean? I'm just playing. Okay, good. So I want to get right to it here, okay? So you battled with some mental health things. And we want to talk about it because you're in the process and on the other side of it and feel safe to talk about this. And we're hoping that maybe your story and us navigating through some things might help some other teens or anybody else that's out there, correct?
Yes. Yeah,
okay, great. So let's dive into that story and kind of where you went down to and how you got yourself out of it.
Yeah. So when I went to college, I was moving away. I didn't know anybody going to San Diego State. And I was really, really nervous. And I just remember like driving there and I was like, this isn't real. Like, there's no way my mom's leaving me after this. Like, she's going to take me home. There's no way. And
Were you crying?
Like, I was crying when I left my boyfriend. I've been in a relationship for like 3.5 years. And it's been great all of those years. Like it wasn't like a typical high school relationship. So that was really hard to leave. And then leaving my dog, that was also really hard. And then
what about your snakes? Was it hard to leave your snakes?
Oh gosh, no. I was ready to get out of that. Yeah, my dad has.
All right, we'll talk about that later. Okay, let's get back into the story.
Yeah. So yeah, we got to San Diego and there's like a couple days where your parents stay. There's like a reverse graduation kind of thing where they have you sit and you like get a pin and the parents stand up. So I was crying then. I was like, oh, they're leaving today. Like, I don't know if I can do this. And so, yeah, it was just really surreal. It was really different. I'd never met my roommate before, and it was just really stressful. And once they left and everything, you know, there were the tears from everybody, but it was okay for a couple of days. And then it wasn't. Like, then I was just really nervous. And I remember walking into the wrong communications class on my first day. And I walked out and I just started crying in the bathroom. I was like, I can't believe I just did that. Like, I'm a freshman again. I don't want to do this. I want to go home. And I would call my parents, like both of them, like 7 times a day each, at least. And that was something that I've never, I mean, like, I love my family, but I've never been like super, like that dependent on anyone in my life. And it was crazy because I didn't want to stress them out, but at the same time, it was like, I did not know what else to do.
Yeah.
So my mom for a while was really like, you really need to reach out to someone. You need to talk to someone. And I was so like, she had said that in high school about my anxiety. And I was like, no, like, I don't need to do that. I'm not crazy, which is so funny because I'm a psych major. Like, that, I don't know where that connection comes from. But so I did. They have a really great counseling program on campus, which I was really lucky to get to do. And it's short term, but then they request or they can recommend people at the end of it. So I did 8 weeks of counseling. So I'd go to therapy and I'd go, like, I think it was every Tuesday after all of my classes were over. And it just wasn't like, it was getting better talking to someone, but it wasn't totally better. So she asked me if I'd want to go and see a psychiatrist. And I was like, yeah, at this point, I will do anything. Like, I need to get this under control because like that constant feeling of like, I'm going to cry is like not helping me make friends, like at all.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Literally, I was like, I can't cry in my classes. It's not going to work. So I did. I went to a psychiatrist and, that meeting was interesting because it was just so fast. I was like, oh, okay, so I do need this. And she prescribed a medication for generalized anxiety disorder and also major depressive disorder, which I had never thought I had. And in high school, I definitely have had anxiety my entire life. I mean, generalized anxiety disorder is anxiety over little things that like builds up over time and then you're just constantly stressed. So that really helped. Like I wasn't very sure it would, but it really did. And I came home for winter break and I continued to take the medication because it's not just going to go away, which was what my roommate asked me a couple of times, like, oh, are you going to stop taking it when you go home? And I was like, no, it's not because I'm not home. It's because that's part of me that I need to work through. And so I continued to take it and I went back and I was nervous to go back after in the spring semester. I was really nervous after winter break and everything, but it got a lot better. It really did. And I started reaching out to people that I didn't know super well, that I'd met a couple times. I joined a sorority. I made a ton of friends through that. And it was just a really different experience going back. And then COVID hit. But I'm really positive about once I get to go back there now.
That's incredible. Okay, so I've got some questions now,
Yeah.
and I want to dive into some of this. So, you that when you were in the we'll call it like the fog or something, when you were feeling all these big feels, did you have any like really big negative thought patterns that were happening?
Yeah, that was a big thing that I worked on in counseling. Was I would get like a B on an assignment and panic, like absolutely like go through a like downward spiral. Like I was like, oh my God, I got a B on this paper. And that means I'm going to get a C on the next one and a D on the next one. And then once I get a D on the next one, I'm not going to pass this class. I'm going to have to retake it. I'm not going to graduate in 4 years. I'm not going to be successful. And it was just a complete downward spiral.
So you were creating what's called a negative narrative, right? Forward. And so you were telling yourself the story that this means this, which means that. And then at the end, it means this failure. And that's the type of thing that can build up to be so big that, that you could start having like thoughts toward even hurting yourself or just being super negative, because you're like, what's the point of all this if that's going to be my future? Correct?
Yeah. It creates huge problems for sure.
Yeah. Okay, good. And so then you, you know, when your mom brought up, you know, the potential of talking to somebody, you said to yourself, well, I'm not crazy. Right. And I think that's a misnomer, and that'd be something it'd be worth telling everyone out there. Like if you've had that thought before, you're not alone. But also just going to see somebody or get help or talk through things doesn't mean you're crazy. As a matter of fact, I think everybody should be in counseling. Everybody should be going to see somebody and checking in on their mental health and like what's going on up in our noggins here. And so to think that like going to see somebody is a bad thing, like I just want to squash that right now and be like, all the cool kids go to therapy.
All of them. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's where
We
the
all got
popular group
problems.
is. Yeah.
So then, and I found this interesting. You said you made the choice to medicate, correct?
Yes.
Because that's a choice.
It is. Yeah. It's, you know, it's not for every disorder like schizophrenia. That would be a really hard thing not to medicate for. I mean, of course, it's technically still a choice. But it was something that they said to me, you know, like, it's something you can consider, and it doesn't mean it's forever. It doesn't mean you're completely messed up or anything like that. It just means you can medicate and see if we can get some hormones going in your brain that you don't have, that you need. Like serotonin is the depressive disorder that there's a lack of, and your brain's just not absorbing it. So it's a completely medical thing. But a lot of people choose not to medicate because they think, you know, I don't need that. That's really invasive, but I didn't think that way. And I know I have a family history in my extended family of taking antidepressants, and it's really helped them. So I talked to my family, and we ultimately made the choice together that it was a good decision.
Good. And I think that's a good thing just to bring up too, is to know that it's okay to medicate. It's okay not to medicate. It's definitely your choice, but going down the path and knowing what all your options are. And then I believe in this, what you just talked about, which is this idea of researching too. Know what it's doing to your body. Understand what the different variations are of different things. And then you can even, if you look at it this way too, you could potentially use yourself as an experiment on you.
Yeah.
You know, so I take the medication and I'm going, okay, I'm going to try this and I'll see how I feel. And if it's not working, great, I'll try something else, or, you know, whatever. But
have, you know, so many, like the one that I'm on is like one of the most generic, but there's all kinds of different, you know, medications for anxiety and depression that people think it's just like one size fits all, and it's not. And like the dosage can be different, it can change, and that's just something you have to kind of monitor yourself. And if you have loved ones, like that's really been helpful. Like I know my parents definitely did look up like all the side effects, anything that could go wrong with it, and how it's supposed to work. And so did my boyfriend. Like I remember him texting me, okay, you have to tell me how you feel every day, like keep a journal, but then let me know like on a scale of 1 to 10 how you're feeling every day. And that's so important, because if you do, you know, it can lead to suicidal ideation in some people. It didn't for me, and I'm lucky, but it can, and it's rare, but it can. And that's really important to check in with yourself and to check in with loved ones.
Yeah. And that comes back to being okay with this not being a bad thing, and being willing to talk to people about it, especially the people who love you. Because here's what I always tell people is if I'm willing to bring to you whatever's hurting me, I'm enabling you to potentially be my hero. And so if you do that for me, like if you bring to me what's wrong with you, how you're feeling, what's true, you enable me to be your hero. If you don't, if you try to hide it in and deal with it all yourself, then you're literally not gifting the people around you the chance, because everybody wants to help, truthfully. Like, who doesn't want to be the hero? Everybody wants to be the hero. So the idea is to enable that to happen is a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's huge. And there were people, in high school that I remember, they were telling me, and I was like, wow, why are you telling me that? Like, we're close, we're not that close. But yeah, I mean, I think you should be more open about it, and it's really important. And most people aren't. They're afraid of it. And I understand that also, it's completely understandable that, you think like, oh, I don't tell everybody every time I have a cold. Why would I tell somebody this? But it's different.
But if your cold was making you feel a certain way, and it was I wouldn't blast it on social media, truthfully.
Yeah.
But I would definitely tell like my parents or my wife or somebody who I was very close to and go, hey, there's this big thing. I'm going to need your support through this. Yeah. And then as I battled it and as I came through it and was like, hey, there is a way to battle this cold that's really scary, then I would want to share it. And I believe that's what you're doing now, is you're willing to get up and you're talking about it sort of post you feeling better, so you can go, hey, I've been there. I understand what you're going through. There is a light at the end of the other side of the tunnel.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember like a huge turning point for me was when I told like my closer friends at college, like I was like, I can't do this. I think I'm going to go to counseling. And all of them texted me outside of the group chat that I sent that in and were like, are you actually? Because I've been feeling that way too. And I think feeling like I'm not alone in that feeling was a really huge turning point. And when I talked to the counselor, she actually said that they've been seeing more people this year than they ever have before for this counseling, which was really interesting. And it makes you wonder, is it social media? Is it that we were just the way we grew up? Like what's the difference, the generational difference?
Well, yeah. And I think I know there are studies going on right now about that. There are indicators that it's social media, but there's not enough data to support it yet. But it is something to be very aware of, and for us to understand that like let's just pull the lid off this thing and realize like it's okay that you're having these feelings. We just all need to do something about it together. But the truth is, you're right. There's something in this next generation has sort of like peaked to this thing, and I got to tell you, coronavirus isn't helping.
No, it's not.
Because now all those big things about like being isolated, feeling alone, like all that stuff has been thrust upon the world. So if you already weren't in a good space, this is a dangerous environment to be in right now.
Exactly. Yeah. And seeing people on social media too, looking like they're, super happy. Like I had friends when I came home, they were like, oh, like you were depressed. You looked so happy in all your pictures. I'm like, yeah, I was smiling. Like, I'm not going to post a picture where I've been sobbing for an hour. Like, I'm just not.
And then I went into Photoshop and I Photoshopped out the
all
tears.
The tears, yeah, no more tears.
I put the pretty filter on, and then
they're gone. I haven't slept in a week, but guess what? It looks like I have because of Photoshop. But that's huge. And seeing people on social media looking like they're having such a great time in isolation, or they're being really productive. It's not the case for most people. And I think that's like a huge thing that especially like the younger generations really don't understand, because what they see is so face value.
So you went through some forensic psychology training at school, right?
Yeah.
And then what's your major now?
So my major is psychology, and I may double major in criminology and psychology. They don't have a minor at state. But that was something that in my depressive state, I was like, I don't think I can do this. That's a lot of work. But I'm definitely considering it a lot more now.
Nice. Okay. So we should throw this out there. First and foremost, neither of us are licensed professionals in this yet. At least you're not yet. But pretty knowledgeable. Like, you know quite a bit about this from studying, right? So
yes.
So let me ask you, if there are some people out there, maybe specifically teenagers, who are having some similar thoughts or depressive, anxious thoughts, what advice do you have for them specifically from not only your personal experience, but also from your training and your knowledge base that you've gotten from school so far?
Yeah, I think definitely talking to someone is a huge thing. Like, a lot of people don't do that, and it's unfortunate that there's so much, stigma around. There's such a big stigma around it, but also, the amount it costs. Like, I was lucky in that at school it was free. I mean, that was part of my tuition, and they offered it there. But it is expensive, and so definitely reach out to someone you trust. Usually an adult would be, that would be great. That would be the best route to go. But, if you can't, there's websites and stuff that are actually really helpful. Like, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I've been hearing an ad for BetterHelp, which is like kind of an online service. It's always there. And, it's there like 24 hours a day, and they're licensed professionals, and you can get like percentages off. And I think that's actually a really great way to reach out to people. And I think that's really important as well. Not an ad for BetterHelp, and I haven't tried it, but I've heard great things about it. So I think that's a big deal. And also just kind of keeping a journal and knowing like how you're doing. Like, that was something that my therapist recommended to me. She said, keep a journal, know what your thoughts are, and even if they're negative, get them down on paper so you can let go. So you can like take a breath and just, write them down, and they're there, and you felt that way, but you kind of have a record, so you know where you're going. And if you're going down, you need to see someone. Like, that's a really important record of that.
So thank you for that. That's amazing advice. So the advice to recap is to reach out to somebody who you believe loves you and cares about you and has your best interest at heart. And then just talking through some of these things is the very first step. So Lauren, let me ask you, when you're going through this kind of thing, what do you think is the hardest part? Like, being in it?
Yeah, I think the hardest part is probably just accepting that this isn't normal. Like, I wanted so bad to be like, everybody goes through this, really upsetting point in college where it's like, this is totally different. I left behind everyone I love, and like, what is going on? And it was to an extent, and then it wasn't. Like, the crying every day and the calling my parents, 7 times each every day, that was not normal. It was not what should be happening. And I think just realizing that, like, okay, this isn't normal, and I need to fix it, and I can fix it. That was really hard. Also, like, I was like, how am I going to get through this? Like, I've never felt this way before. I've never felt this bad before. And how is it going to change? Like, I can't be like this forever. And it's not like that forever, and you'll get through it. That's
awesome. Okay. And then there was one other thing that interested me. What you said was, when you were in your depressive state, you had made the decision, I can't do this. It's too much work. I'm not sure that I can do it. Now that you're not feeling depressed, you all of a sudden don't think you can't do it.
Yeah.
Is that interesting? Because that's interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. And it's part of the anxiety too. It's just the, like, there's no way I'm good enough to do this. There's no way I can do this. And I finished my freshman year of college through all of that with a 4.0. So I think that's not something that's true at all, but you'll think that. And my therapist gave me a sheet that was kind of, I was worst case scenario thinking. And she gave me a sheet saying, like, pretty much, what evidence is there towards this? And it was like, oh, I got a B. And it was like, okay, what evidence is there against this? Like, it was a B. I'm like, okay, also what evidence? Like, it was my first college paper. So it kind of really makes you think, and you're like, okay, like I need to get it together, because that's a ridiculous way of thinking. So it's, yeah, on the other side of it, it's, you think a lot more clearly.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and it also just, it shows the power of our mind and how important it is in our body. Our psychology is incredibly powerful and important. And so what you tell yourself does tend to come true. So as you start to say I am or I will certain things, those things tend to happen. As you start to say I can't or I won't or I'm not capable, then you tend to live into that. So if there's something in you that keeps diving down something negative and keeps refuting what you're capable of doing, because we are all so capable. Like there's something inside each of us that's just dying to get out. And I'm not saying we're all supposed to be billionaires. I'm just saying, like, we're all supposed to really, like, live up to this big potential. Like, we all really do have something special inside of us. I believe that with my whole heart. And the idea is finding that. Like, what is it that makes you cook? And being willing to go into the fear and start saying, yeah, I can. Yes, it is possible. Yeah, it might be a big mountain, but I just need to take one step forward. If I can just take one step, I'm closer to climbing this mountain. But if I keep staring at the mountain and going like, that thing, I can't, there's no way I can do that, you start to go backwards, you start to hide, you start to feel bad. And that feeling of feeling bad will then multiply upon itself. Whereas just like taking one step forward, you feel good from the progression. I know I'm not there, but I feel happier already because I've taken a step forward, which leads to another step. And before you know it, you look back, you're like, am I halfway up this mountain? Like, that's crazy. This was a big mountain. I'm halfway up. It's crazy. So I love that, like, that you were able to change your mindset. And now here you are telling yourself, well, now it's not I can't do it or I don't think I'm capable, but it's like, is this where I want to put all my energy? Because it's obviously an option for you now. The question is, there's a lot of probably new options available to you, and you're going to go, okay, really, which avenue do I want to take? Do I want to double major for this reason? Do I want to go here? And now you're telling yourself this narrative that's good, I'll bet you, going in various directions and going, okay, really, which path do I want to take first? Is this true?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it relates to acting too, you know, like, okay, you get rejected from one TV gig, one commercial, like one thing. And okay, that was a rejection, but I'm going to try again. Whereas, like, you know, with anxiety and depression, you can kind of say, you know, okay, that was one rejection, so I'm terrible, so nobody's going to ever like me. When really, like, you might just not have been right for that part. I mean, they might have been looking for something totally different and you just weren't that, but, you know, something 2 years down the line you fit it exactly. You're exactly what they pictured.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. So, speaking of acting, you said that there's a chance acting may be in your future at some point. Do you think it's just like there's an actress inside of you that just is and always will be, and it will be a part of your life? Is that what you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was like drama kid through and through in high school. I was on the board of the drama program, and I did a lot with that. And I loved, you know, film acting's kind of my thing. Theater, less so. I'm not a dancer, so musical theater is not quite up my alley. But no, I definitely love it, and I haven't done it in a while. And I think that's something that's really important too, is just having hobbies that you love. And, you know, it doesn't just have to be a hobby. You can, you know, want something more out of it. But I just think that's something so important, and that I've lost a little bit, you know, going to college and not having like the little extracurricular things that I used to do.
Well,
so yeah, I definitely think
I'm going to tell you about another one of my beliefs, okay? I believe with my whole heart that there is a performer inside every human being. That everybody deep down inside, somewhere, some way, desires to be seen, desires to be recognized in some way. And this is why and how our acting program has been developed to not only help next level actors become next level actors, but also just to help people take their lives next level. And so I believe being a part of a program like ours, a part of an acting program that's going to push you, that's going to make you feel a little scared, that's going to give you a chance to be in the lights every now and then and get on camera and just prove to yourself you can do things you didn't think you were capable of doing over and over and over again, that it has just this immense impact on every area of your life. And I can tell you, just we have so many stories now, and we're starting to hear them come to light as we've been doing some of these interviews. I'm hearing people saying, yeah, well, because of you, I got a promotion. Well, because of you, I applied for this job and now I have it. Because of you, I'm now a manager. Because of you, like now I'm vice president of American Express. Because I didn't think I was capable before. I didn't have the confidence, and just doing this regularly is now put me in a position where I feel like I can conquer anything. And I always tell them, hey, it's not because of me. You're making these choices. But the idea is committing to understanding what this is doing for you in your life, like letting yourself be okay with that, getting excited about it, and then realizing, like, cool, whether or not I'm a full-time actor or a full-time whatever, I am an actor. I am a performer. I perform in my life all day, every day. So to practice performing is probably a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. And I totally agree with that. You know, everybody wants to be seen and everybody wants to be heard. And, you know, in a lot of different ways. I mean, I'm a waitress, and I get like all the time, like one lady said yesterday, she's like, oh, your customer service voice, like on the phone, is really easy to understand. And she's like, and you don't sound like you want to kill yourself talking to me. And I just thought that was so funny, because I totally get that. You call a pizza place and they're like, hello. And you're like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sorry I'm interrupting your day. But that was nice to hear. And that's definitely the actor inside of me. You know, I want to enunciate, and I want people to be able to understand what I say. I don't mumble. I'm pretty loud. No teacher I've ever had would ever say I mumble, but
I wouldn't say that.
Nope. No mumbling here.
So do you guys have anything to add here before we wrap up? I know, you know, we've been very transparent about our mental health through the coronavirus. We felt like that's important. So I'll come right on the show in the mornings and talk about my ups and downs and where I'm at and how I'm dealing with it to try to potentially help other people. You guys have anything personally you wanna add on this subject?
No.
No.
Well,
Yeah,
I think honestly, Lauren, you guys both spoke on it so well. So as far as like personal journey, it definitely for everybody, I think is it's a mind game. So Matt already said it, but going back to just to reiterate, choice. Everything is a choice, and being transparent is so key. I love what you said, Lauren, about just telling the people around you. I know that I've been guilty of not doing that, especially in the past, where like I'll feel something, and I used to be this person who would just build things up, you know, like one thing would happen, another thing would happen, and I'm really nice, so I wouldn't say anything to anybody. And really it would hurt me or make me feel a certain way, and I would never talk to anybody about it. And then at some point I would blow up on somebody, usually Matt, but there would just be some blow up point. And so I just really love what you guys said about just being truthful and stating it and telling the people around you how you're feeling. I think that's the problem right now, or the struggle, is that so many people aren't willing to talk.
Yeah.
So many people aren't willing to bring it up, and it can be such a like subject, but it's important. It's important, and everybody goes through some form of feeling like they aren't enough, and it's so important to share.
Thank you, Brian. And I can say too, there's an interesting thing about life in general. But the more you grow and the more you expand and the more people you impact and whatnot, the more you run into difficulties. And that really is just true. And it's not a reason to stop, but it's a reason to get better. It's a reason to continue refining yourself. I can tell you that our footprint has been it keeps expanding, you know. And so Lauren, how many years has it been? What, 4 years since you've been in the studio? Something like that?
Gosh.
Maybe longer?
I think it's only been like 2, actually.
2 years. Okay, so it's been 2 years, and we don't talk all the time, but you're forever family. Forever.
Yeah,
You may not be at the top of my mind every day, but like you're a part of my heart forever. I will love you for forever, right? And so you imagine now us being in business as long as we have, us expanding now in new ways and impacting new people in new ways, we're putting ourselves out there truthfully, and our message won't hit everybody. Some people won't like it, and honestly, the bigger we get, the more haters we're probably gonna get. Like that's gonna happen, right? Well, we've had now a couple times. We have had to deal with the experience of losing somebody, losing a teenager to this exact issue, and it's very painful, and so it's something that matters to us a whole heck of a lot because we say it all the time. We're not mental health professionals, but we care so much, and anybody who's ever been to our studio is forever family. And if we ever hear that somebody took their own life or did something that went to the extreme because they didn't feel like they had help, it just breaks your heart,
Yeah.
And so so we've been through it personally, like on the front end. We've seen this stuff, and we know the statistics. Like we research it, we see it, we understand it. And so I just want to reiterate one more time for anybody who's watching, number one, you're loved. So if you're watching us, we love you. Number two, please reach out to somebody, because even just saying, hey, I need to talk, like that's a very big first step, and it's something that can ease some of that huge weight that you're probably carrying right now. And there's another side to this, as Lauren is like proof right on the camera here, is smiling face showing us that when you relieve yourself of all that pressure, of all that tension, of all that weight you've been carrying, you realize you're actually capable of doing more, of lifting more weight than you ever thought possible. But it's by choice. It's not something that's weighing down on you that you feel like you have no control over. Now it's something like, hey, I want to pick up this weight. I want to pick up this weight, instead of feeling like you're being dragged down all the time. So it's okay if you're feeling that way, and it's okay to get help, really. Like we really want to support that. We want to support any organization that is helping in this area, because we believe in it so very much.
And I want to jump on that one more time, based on what you said there, because that hit me, because even just last year, that was my first big experience of losing a student we lost. And what you said earlier about everybody wants to be each other's hero. So for everybody listening, also realize that that's the case. I think part of the struggle is you feel, again, like you're alone, and like in that moment that people wouldn't want to hear it or whatever. We do. Like the people in your life want to help you. They want to be around you and surround you and care for you. And so, because that was the biggest struggle going through that on the other end of that, was I was beating myself up continuously for days, weeks, and for the first couple of days, I didn't sleep, like for days, because I just kept putting this person in my mind and going like, what if this and what if that and what if I had done this, And so I think that's the challenge on the other end. And so for anyone listening going through it, realize that the people on the other side, the people around you, they want to love you like crazy, and they can't unless you're willing to open up. So I love that be your hero term. There's something so powerful about that.
And that's the thing, is like you can't always tell if someone's going through something. Like I do remember in high school when my anxiety definitely like kind of started to show more. I remember John Luke pulling me aside and saying like, hey, are you okay? Like, and I was like, wow, I didn't even realize how expressive I am, but like, it's been a hard week. I'm stressed, I'm scared, but that's something that's so hard, is you can't tell. And it's not their fault that they're feeling that way. And it's probably not their parents' fault that they're feeling that way, or, anyone else in their life. But that's what's so hard, is when someone does take their own life, everybody around them feels like it's their fault.
Right. And
it's not, but it's hard, and that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can say too, there was something else I wanted to mention, Lauren, before we wrap up here. And that was, you said something that I think is profound. And I want to also just make sure people understand the other side of it. So, because this is twofold. And I've heard this before from other people. And this is the idea of, it's okay to acknowledge that this is not normal, that this is beyond normal, and that I am not, that I really do need help, in different ways, right? And so, and I think there's something to this where you say, okay, like not everybody goes through what I'm going through in my head right now. Like that's not what everybody deals with. And so there's this thing where you want to say like, hey, yeah, you understand, but you really don't understand, right? And I think that that's true. In a lot of ways, that is absolutely true, what you're saying. On the flip side, though, just to alleviate everybody's fear, I think that, let's just say what you went through where you called mom and dad 7 times and all this stuff, and it was like really, really a lot. Let's say that I did that twice a day, you know, or something, and it wasn't quite as extreme, but I had some of the same feeling. Let's say I wanted to cry and it was all on the inside, but I didn't let it out, something like that. So let's say maybe I don't need to be medicated for it, but what I guess what I'm trying to get at is I can relate to you. So
Yeah.
I believe everybody in this world has the same feelings. We've all been gifted with the same feelings inside of us. So you don't have to be afraid to tell someone, because they'll relate to the feeling, understanding that your feeling is just 10,000 times bigger and louder maybe than theirs, but they do get it. Like, they can relate to having the feeling of crying, having the feeling of being anxious, having the feeling of being depressed. We've all felt that. And so then you go, okay, I feel that times 10,000, and I go, oh, dang. Because it's been hard on me. I can't imagine what this is doing for you. Hey, let's talk about getting some help here.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody's been sad, or everybody's been stressed about a test, and just realizing that, like, you can talk to someone and, you know, you don't have to say, well, you don't understand, because they do to an extent. Exactly. But, you know, it might not be quite as extreme, but they can understand and have that conversation with you. I mean, I'm sure there's psychologists that have absolutely never experienced, you know, every single, you know, disorder. I mean, obviously, you know, we'd run out of people, but, yeah, and they can talk to you and they understand, and yeah, they've been trained, but I think every human kind of has that basic understanding of what you're going through.
Yeah, and then one, I guess I already said one last thing, but now I'm going to say one last thing again.
One last one, and then a challenge.
Yeah, okay. So the next last thing is, if you are the person receiving the information from somebody, if they're coming to you, this is the other thing, is try your best not to say, I understand what you're going through. Try so hard not to give a solution necessarily, but to be a pair of listening ears, and hopefully steer the person toward a medical professional. That is the goal, because there is something where you can say, hey, oh, I know about this or that can make the other person feel small, because they'd say, yeah, but you don't, it's not the same as what you're going through. So you want to be cautious to say, hey, I want to inspire you to know that it's going to be okay. But at the same time, I don't want to downplay these big feelings that you're having as if they're just like everybody else has them. So why can't you deal with it better than you are? So I think if somebody comes to you, if you're their person, you know, they're like, oh, I got to talk to someone. Who do I trust? You're the person they trust. So listen, speak less, just be that pair of ears and think, okay, how may I find a way to help direct this person to somebody who can really help, who really knows what they're doing? Because on the flip side of what I just said, it is different. It is 100% different, and yet it's still a choice. Like we can make the choice to go to the doctor. We can make the choice to get help. We can make the choice to be medicated. If those are things that are in your best interest, you can make those choices. So you still do have a choice on your perspective on how you handle a situation. But once again, if you're the trusted loved one that they're coming to, try not to honestly try not to spin it back to you. And that's what I think a lot of people do, is you're like, oh, I'm feeling this way, and I go, well, let me tell you how bad I have it. And then you make the whole conversation about you, and the next thing you know, they didn't even get to tell you what's really wrong, because you stopped listening and started being accidentally selfish because you were trying to help them, but you start talking about your own stuff.
Joey and I like to joke, there's that Hamilton song that's like, talk less, smile more. We'll switch that and we'll just turn it into listen more. Yeah. So like it's that idea of just like putting yourself aside. So yeah. Yeah.
Although in that song, it's not exactly what
it's tied to. I just like to change it because I like the rhythm. So he's totally on a different beat. But you know, making up our own stuff. Okay, Lauren. So here's what you're gonna do. We're gonna do a challenge for our listeners, for any actors out there listening, any people, any teenagers. So what we do is like something inside your heart, and you think, hey, this is something I do on a regular basis, or something I heard about, something I think would be really cool, and ideally it's for everybody. So something that would
that you think could help with our mental health, could help with this situation in general, could just help us with our overall well-being? Is there some sort of challenge you could throw out there that's maybe would take everyone about 5 minutes, and then they could tag us back on it, you and us both, to let them know that they did the thing that you brought to their attention?
Yeah, I actually, my therapist actually recommended mindfulness training.
Perfect. All right. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to say right to the camera, okay, here's my challenge. My name's Lauren Slack, and here's my challenge, and then give it to us.
Okay. I'm Lauren Slack, and here's my challenge. Spend 5 minutes a day just kind of sitting in silence, not music, not, podcasts. I know we all love those, but in silence, and just kind of try to clear your mind. I know that sounds ridiculous, but try to think through that cloud, that fog that you have going on. I have to do this, this, and this. Just try to breathe and understand that it's okay to just sit and be quiet for 5 minutes.
There we go. Mindfulness training. I love it. And you know what? We're hearing a lot of the same stuff on this show recently.
Yeah.
Which means we need to listen to it. Okay?
Absolutely.
Us here at the studio, anybody listening, there's a reason it's being repeated right now, because this is probably what the world needs the most, is some more mindfulness right now. All right. Thank you, Lauren, for being on the show. We sure appreciate having you.
Thank you. It was good to see you guys.
You too. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been Mornings with Matt. Sure appreciate you tuning in. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to this channel. It's very important you subscribe. That helps us to continue to put out this light-driven content to the planet. Thank you, and God bless.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.